Yeah, no faith whatsoever. I think the world's a fantastic, wonderful, amazing, sometimes terrible place, totally indifferent to us. I'd call myself an anti-theist. You top up living in a sort of spiritual North Korea. So the Dawkins of this world and that sort of thing are the ones that I go for. It seems to me obvious that morality works for practical reasons. It just seems a ludicrous book to look at for any form of morality. That God outdoes Eichmann and all his compatriots by 1,000 to 1.
Hi there, I just spoke to an older gentleman, self-described anti-theist, which if you've ever watched any debates or conversations with Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins, you'll have some idea about how this conversation went. And nevertheless, I always have a heart for people like those. It seems to me always that their anger, that their dissatisfaction is not so much due to their denial of the existence of God. It's just that they have a problem with what he's like, and that, interestingly, assumes that he does exist. They just don't like what he did and what he's like. And so I pray that maybe our paths would cross again, and I can share with him a little bit more about what I understand God is like, and to tell him more about how his character and how his love comes out most truly in the person of Jesus. And we can know him, and we can have a personal relationship with him. So have a look, let me know what you think, and see you next time. Bye.
On your subject, I have no faith whatsoever.
All right.
Apart from in human nature.
In human nature, all right.
And he is deeply religious.
Yes.
But then a lot of my friends, our really good friends, are. Yeah, no faith whatsoever. I think the world's a fantastic, wonderful, amazing, sometimes terrible place. Totally indifferent to us. But people not necessarily so.
Interesting.
Some lovely people.
Yeah. Do you feel, looking at the world again, you said it's amazing, it's wonderful, I think it's also complicated, right? And do you think it has arisen sort of on its own through time and chance, or
yes, I'm no
do you think there's a
creationist.
Sorry?
I'm no creationist.
You're not a creationist, yeah.
No, I'm no great watchmaker in the sky
Right.
person. I mean, for those who feel that it's so, fine. I mean, I would call myself actually, along with Christopher Hitchens, which is a bit cheeky to me to mention myself in the same breath, but I'd call myself an anti-theist as opposed to actually a theist.
Got it.
Because he talks of, when he was still with us, bless him.
Yes.
He talked of, if you do have a faith and you have a religion and you believe in God, you top up living in a sort of spiritual North Korea where you're watched while you're asleep and even after you're dead.
Yes.
So I have no time for faith whatsoever, see no reason to believe in it, see no logical reason to believe in it, but think the world's a wonderful, amazing place and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Right. So your opinion, if I make sort of summarize, your opinion is more based on sort of logical reason, philosophical understanding, not necessarily like science. You're not a scientist,
I have a tremendous belief in science.
Right.
I mean, I base if I base anything upon rationality, I base that rationality upon science.
Right.
So the Dawkins of this world and that sort of thing are the ones that I go for. It's because of my belief in science.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist,
Yeah.
but it's because of my belief in scientists that I have no faith in anything supernatural.
Right. That's interesting, because some of the interesting, you mentioned Dawkins, you mentioned Hitchens, right? They had some great debates. I don't know if you heard of John Lennox, great mathematician. from Oxford. Now he's a very conservative Christian,
Yeah.
and he holds opposing points of view, and his views are based on the fact that something has everything that moves has to have a mover. Everything that's caused has to have a causer. And if we do believe in a universe that has started, which we do,
Yeah.
scientifically accepted fact, this universe has had a beginning. Universe has had a beginning.
Yeah.
Who began it? Who started it? There has to have been some intention, some sort of a move.
But isn't the
behind
logic
it,
of that there has to be a person who started the starter?
Could be, but we can only operate within the realm of being the creation. So we can only go maybe one level above it to ask the question of who created us, who created a creator, would be putting ourselves at that level, right? Which we cannot understand. We would have to be at the level of, at the same equal level as
Yeah.
the deity to ask that question, right? Which I'm not sure that, it's a good question to ask, but I'm not sure that we're going to get very far with that question. But the question of who created us is a more interesting question, right? Because we understand this surrounding, we understand where we live, and so we can understand the experience that we have, and we can ask about that experience and what started it. And it had to be someone who's outside of that experience, someone who is able to introduce new information, able to introduce new logic, new material, new matter, new everything into
Is
it, right?
that not what the scientists are doing at this very moment? I mean, they're chasing something called, I don't understand it, but
Yeah.
the God particle,
Yes,
aren't
indeed.
they?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, the subject intrigues me. You couldn't have got a subject in which I'm more interested in. The only reason why I am totally irreligious and an anti-theist is not. I mean, I wish I was smart enough to follow the sort of the
arguments
logic
and,
sometimes.
Yeah,
I confess it eludes me, but the subject does fascinate me
Got it.
at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we can maybe switch briefly on the line of thinking maybe to the other. Obviously, there's the science sort of tension is one avenue down which sort of religion takes, and there's some debate there. The other one is morality, right?
Yeah.
And I think Hitchens has had again multiple conversations about what morality, where does it arise from, and the Christians have always claimed that for us to know what good and evil is, we have to have an absolute standard of what good and evil is, so we can align with that
They
standard.
haven't done very
or not.
well at it, have they?
No, we haven't. No, not at all.
I
No,
mean,
yeah.
and it seems to me, I mean, I could be being presumptuous here, but it seems to me obvious that morality works for practical reasons. No, it's the reason I'm not thinking that's a nice camera, I'll have that off him.
Yeah.
I'm slightly heavier built than him, and I could leg it out of Charlton
Yeah.
Park. I think morality, to me, is mainly based upon the practicality of cooperation, which has made Homo sapiens the ape that survived all the other apes. Our ability to cooperate has been our greatest facility, and the fact that I don't want to live by the law of the jungle is because I hate violence so much.
Yes.
That's why I have several black belts
Yeah.
and teach self-defense to people, because I dislike violence and bullying so much. And it isn't any God-given, at least I don't believe it is, any God-given decency in me. It isn't even altruism. It's practicality. It's that which works.
Right.
When you get into the more esoteric elements of philosophy and that, frankly, I'm a kind of aspiring intellectual who wasn't quite smart enough to be one. So if I were arguing with your mathematician who discussed with Hitchens, I mean many people did, I would be totally lost, because my brain doesn't work that fast. These people are from another planet. You know, these the Hitchens and the Dawkins and all this kind of thing, and the believers, like my friend that I mentioned to you who did the martial arts seminar. They're the people that I'd love to be stuck on a desert island with, but I would bore them to tears because I don't have the mental capacity.
Right.
And I just have to face it that I don't. So I go with, I look for simplicities an awful lot, because once you get into, are we really sitting on this bench?
And
Prove it to me.
Too ethereal.
Yes. We move away from what I'm capable of understanding.
Yeah. Would you then, the idea of sin, would that be too far out, right? Because the practicality of morality, which seems to be something that's experiential, kind of day-to-day idea, does the idea of sin to you resonate at all? Because it would go beyond the practical. So for example, it would go into perhaps some of the non-intuitive areas. To give you an example, Jesus often spoke in the Bible about, even if you think lustful thoughts, that it is equivalent as if though you have committed adultery.
That's
with
what
a
Dawkins
woman, right?
meant by the North Korea of the spiritual North Korea, where everything you watch and everything you do is to score brownie points with God.
Right. Okay.
No, it's. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, please, no. I was just trying to see whether your opinion on that, whether you believe that is just too far out there, that you believe that was not something that you would align to or use as a sort of a standard at all in that regard.
I've lost you. Sin. Go back to sin.
Yeah, so the idea of sin, the Ten Commandments, and so the biblical sort of point of view of going back to morality, good and evil. How do we understand what it is? Well, Bible would establish a standard, right? So it would say it would take it beyond the practical. What I'm saying, perhaps some of the non-intuitive things. It would establish a standard that is higher than we would establish for ourselves. It would cut us at our heart.
But it doesn't, though, does it? I mean, he came down with the tablets, Moses, did the business, forced tortured the yeah, I'll be with you in a sec, dear. Thank you very much.
I won't be too long. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, don't be sorry, because it's intriguing. He came down from the mountain, conquered, destroyed the idol, cow.
The calf, the golden calf, yes.
Broken into rubble and forced his prisoners to eat it, and then killed 3,000 of them, having just handed over a stone saying, "Thou shalt not kill." I mean, as you and I know, the Bible is so full of the most ghastly, can't think of the word, simple word, contest between itself. What am I looking for? It just seems a ludicrous book to look at for any form of morality. Forgive 70 times 7, a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye. There's so many irregularities in it, so many ghastly things contesting one another in it, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be looking to the Bible or the Koran either. I mean, I'm an expert in neither, but I have read enough of them to find them appalling books upon which to base a morality. I mean, the Bible happily condones murder, incest, rape. I could go on, but
does it condone it? Well, anyway, we could. This is probably a subject, but because I know you have to.
Well, it holds forth as examples of people who have condoned these things. Moses, for one.
Yeah, it actually condemns them. I mean, even some of the greats of the Bible are being strictly condemned, right, in their activity. Like David, who was the Jewish king, he's being condemned for what he's done in terms of adultery with the Bathsheba woman that he spied upon when he was,
we can all.
Moses is also condemned for the murder of the Egyptian. He's condemned also for having done other things like having multiple wives.
Was he condemned for forcing them to eat the rubble of the golden calf? Was he condemned for killing the 3,000 people? If
Yeah, so
he
those-
was,
those-
I don't know where it is, and
Yeah.
the fact that I've had to seek it out,
Yeah.
forgive me, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
go because
sure. And yet it's the same Bible that talks about Jesus who died, who's Son of God, who died for our sins, right? I mean, that's the same. Maybe that's the tension that you're talking about. Maybe that's the difficult to square away, right? Because we ultimately have to come to, it's the same God who does all these horrible things, as you say, the killing, and yet he gives the life of his own son, who came willingly on the cross to die for us. It's the same God.
That God outdoes Eichmann and all his compatriots by 1,000 to 1. He killed the whole f***ing world.
Right.
He drowned the whole world.
Yeah.
And he kept a few. What's his name? Noah.
Noah, yes.
I don't know what he did with all the cousins and the sisters and that.
Right,
Sod
right,
them, they
right.
can all drown.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Yeah.
appalling.
Yeah.
I've got to go.
Yes,
Forgive
no worries.
me.
Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you
chat,
so
Charles.
much. It's
Thank
been
you.
most enjoyable.
Appreciate it.